Okay, so we just found the least squares regression line, and so it was 0.0, so it was y equals 0.05189 x plus 5.1007. All right, then it wants the r value to 4 decimal places. So my calculator's not giving it to me at the moment, but anyway, I'll fill this in when I get a chance. And then the way you decide if it's a good fit or not is really the closer to 1 that r value is, the better. And so so if you get an r value that's, greater than 0.8, then that's a good fit. If it's an r value that's, less than 0.5 or so, it's probably not a great fit. So so yeah, so I got to figure out how to get that on my calculator. So that's probably a good thing to sort out before the exam for you. Then I want to use the model to estimate to the nearest year the longevity of an animal with a 200-day gestation period. Okay, so I want to just plug in 200 for x and see what I get. So 0.05189 times 200 plus 5.1007. Okay. All right. It looks like 15.47 years. 48 years. Okay. The next one says, given a function, and there's the function, identify and graph the basic function, and then use transformations to graph the given function. All right, and list the transformations in the order they need to be applied. Oh, well, does it matter, I guess? Well, here we're just going to the left 2, and then we've got also down 3. Okay, so I can graph the quadratic function here, and there's my vertex, and maybe I'll do a couple of other points. So I have 1, 1 as a point, negative 1, 1 as a point, and 2, 4 as a point on my graph, and negative 2, 4 also on my graph. Okay, so there's y equals x squared. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to move this left 2. Well, how about I color code here? So we'll do the down 3, we'll do in another color here, is that? So I want to do left 2. Okay, so we're going to go left 2, so that's this way, 1, 2. And so all these points will go like that. We shifted everything to the left 2. And then I want to shift it all down 3. Okay, so if we go down 3, 1, 2, 3. And the vertex is there, there. Oh. And this one's going to go through here 1 now. There we go. Oh. All right, so that's that. So this is my final graph of F, is this green one. The next one says, given the function 3 absolute value of x, identify and graph the basic function and use transformations to graph the given function. Okay, so it looks like here I've got a stretch factor by a factor of 3 and also a reflection about the x-axis. And so let's graph that. So just the plain graph of absolute value of x looks like a V-shaped graph, but the slope of the V is 1. So we'll have these kind of points here. So 1, 1, and 2, 2, and negative 1, 1, and negative 2, 2, and so on. So this is y equals absolute value of x. All right, then what I want to do is I want to multiply all of those y values by 3. And so what do I get when I multiply those by 3? So if I have 1, I'm going to multiply the y value by 3, so I'll get 1, 3. So that's up here. And 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. So 2, 6 is a point on my graph. And then if I multiply the y values by 3 here, I'll get 1. And then when I multiply 1 by 3, I get 3. And then 2, 6. So what you'll notice here is the slope of my new lines are what? Well, the slope of this side is 3, and the slope of this side is negative 3. Okay? And then what am I going to do? I'm going to take all of those y values and I'm going to make them all negative. So I'm going to flip it then around the x-axis. So instead of these y values being 3 and 6, they're going to be negative 3 and negative 6. And so we can draw those points on here. 4, 5, 6 on our graph here. And we're going to flip it around. So negative 1, it'll be negative 3 now, and 1, 3. And then we'll have 2, 6, and negative 2, negative 6. So I can draw in those lines like that. And that says my final graph. And this is y equals negative 3 absolute value x. Okay. Next one says, given the graph of f, I want to graph negative 2 f of x minus 3 minus 2. Okay, so I think probably the easiest thing to do first is to multiply everything, all these points by 2. So let's identify some kind of important points here on my graph. So maybe like this point, and like that point, and that point, and that point. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to multiply all of those y values by 2. So the y values here are all 1, so if I multiply them by 2, I get these y values at 2. The y value here is 2, if I multiply it by 2, I get 4. And the y value here is 0, if I multiply it by 2, I get 0, right? And so my graph is doing something like this. And instead of having a slope of 1, it's having a slope of 2. Okay, so there's that. So that dealt with this negative 2, so this is a stretch. Or however you want to say that. Makes it more steep. And then I want to reflect that about the x-axis. So I'm going to make that negative. So I'm going to deal with this. So this is a flip. Okay, and so if I do that, I'm going to just change all those, the sign of all of those values. Okay, and then this goes again through here. Okay, and then I'm going to go, we're going to go to the left 3, or to the right 3 units, and so let's do that. So we're going to take everything to the right 3. 1, 2, 3, that point goes there. Okay, and then the last graph is going to be green again, and then I'm going to go down 2. Okay, so when I take all of that down by 2 points, I have this graph. And so the green graph is the final graph. Okay. Next one says, write a function that has a shape of square root of x, but is reflected about the x-axis, and shifted to the right 3 units, and shifted up 6 units. Okay, so let's see. So we are going to say our function f of x is going to contain a square root, but it's going to have some other stuff going on. So if I want to reflect it about the x-axis, that's going to be this minus here. And then shifted to the right 3 units. So we'll say x minus 3 to shift to the right 3, and then shifted up 6 units. So the plus 6 goes on the outside. And that's that. Next one, write a function that has a shape of x cubed, but is stretched vertically by a factor of 4, shifted 2 units to the left and 5 units down. So it's going to look like this. F of x equals, so it's shifted vertically by a factor of 4. So that's 4. And then we want to cube something. So we're shifting 2 units to the left. So it's going to be x plus 2. And then 5 units down, minus 5. So that'd be the answer to 24.